Hello everyone! I'm a very normal person with a very normal job. So this video is coming out after Halloween because this was a super last minute project I just decided to do. But this was my Halloween project that was about 2 days, and basically I made this super cursed giant Arctic looking bird based on or inspired by the erosion birds or birds, which are a giant meme on TikTok right now. I may have to censor the word because of YouTube's random bull and probably sensible as well. I'm just gonna stop. Anyway, these random looking creepy bird men have been living in my head rent free since it first came across my FYP on TikTok. Something about them just feels very surreal, which I'm sure is kind of the part of the AI thing. I do just want to jump in here and say I'm not gonna touch on the morals of AI. Obviously there's a lot of stuff going on. This is just a funny meme that I wanted to turn into a Halloween costume. The main reason I wanted to do this is because I actually had a different project that I didn't like how it turned out quite as much, and so I just decided I needed a win. So I started this and I finished it in about a day and a half total, so it was a massive throw together. But I really like how it turned out, enough that I wanted to make a little YouTube video to show you guys my cursed giant bird Halloween project, and I hope you guys enjoy this random little niche video that nobody asked for, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm gonna start out with a bit of cardboard here that I'm gonna just make a giant tube to sit on my head to be the neck of this bird. And if you're not thinking of Doug Dimmadome when you see this on my head, we can't be friends. Sadly, I realized I'm gonna need to shorten the top a little bit so there's room for the head, so I kind of just cut some big wedges out of this cardboard and sort of brought those sides together to make it a little bit more pointed at the top. To start off the face of my bird, I'm just cutting out a bunch of these little shapes. What are they called? Trapeziums, I think? Anyway, I'm just gonna stick those together with some sticky tape. Once I bring all of these together, it's gonna kind of create almost like a rectangular prism, but sloped down to one side, so that's gonna be where the beak goes. For the beak part, I've got this really long wedge of cardboard. You can see I've folded it right at that edge that's sitting on the table there. That's just gonna be essentially the forehead of the bird. I hope this makes sense. And then the beak sort of just curves down from there. That kind of gives me the shape that I can trace onto another piece of cardboard and cut out the sides of the beak. With the sides of the beak taped on, it's starting to look a little bit more bird-like, but it is still very clearly just cardboard box, so I need to add some things to give it a bit more shape. So with a few more pieces of cardboard, I'm going to cut out a shape for the eyebrow, and I've got these little disc shapes. I'm going to cut out the center of these, and I'm going to try and create a bit of a curved surface by creating some cheeks that are going to sit just under the eyes. For my little brow ridge here, I'm just cutting a wedge out of this and sticky taping that down. The main purpose for this is because it curves that cardboard even more, so it kind of creates a nice arch over the eye. The good thing about it being Halloween season as I made this is that all of the Christmas stuff is already in the stores, which meant that you can get these things, which are little plastic clear baubles, which usually come in twos, and you can sandwich them together. And I think you're supposed to fill them with stuff like confetti or tinsel or something. I don't know, I don't care, I'm never going to use that for this purpose, but they make great little eyeballs. So all I did with this is I spray painted on the inside so that you still got that lovely glassy finish on the outside, and that was my eyeballs for my erosion bird. With my creepy little beady eyes ready to go, I'm just hot gluing these straight into place between the cheek and the eyebrows. Once they're on, I'm covering these in masking tape just to protect them from any glues or paints that I'm applying next. I realized I made the bird face just a little bit short, so I'm just adding these extra panels at the back to kind of just elongate it out a little bit, give them a bit more cheekbones. Now, once all of the little cardboard bits were glued onto there, you can kind of see roughly the shape of the face starting to come together. So for the paper mache, I ended up using this stuff here, which is tissue paper, which probably more expensive than just using newspaper, which is I think the traditional thing that you do with paper mache, but the tissue paper is super thin, which means that it goes on really smooth. It's nice and easy to build up, and once it does go on, it tends to have a bit more of a wrinkly kind of texture as opposed to just the texture of paper that's ripped up. So that kind of means that you get this really wrinkly, crusty skin for the bird that kind of makes you think of like vultures and things like that. So definitely sort of leaning into those more Halloween-y vibes.
Along with the tissue paper, I'm using watered down PVA glue for my paper mache. There's tons of different ways to do it. I'm using this because I already had a ton of PVA glue and I know it dries relatively fast as well. I honestly had the most fun time doing this bit. I think as a cosplayer who uses like a lot of different techniques, it feels nice to return to like a very classic crafting technique like paper mache, cardboard, tape, hot glue. This very much hit my nostalgia for like childhood craft days. Going through the footage now, and it just occurred to me how much not a coincidence it is that the one time I dress up as some obscure meme, it's a giant bird. I always end up dressing up as a giant bird somehow. It's not weird. Anyway, as the project continues, I was just building up especially around the eyes just to make this a nice, distinct area with like some proper eyelid kind of shapes going on, and just smoothing out like the edges between the different cardboard pieces so it looks, you know, less like cardboard. Okay, I have been like impatiently checking on this like every hour or so for the paper mache to dry, and I think we are ready to rumble and it's looking pretty good. I've got this extra little beak piece I threw together. Oh, it's on the floor now. I've got this extra little beak piece that I put together just for like its lower jaw. This is really hard to do with one hand, guys, but I might even be able to get some like moving jaw action. I'm not really gonna try that hard because like this is supposed to be like a 24-hour throw together, but it's time to put some priming on this. So this guy's been sprayed with some white plaster dip just to basically create like a nice, smooth, even surface for me to paint on. And it looks like my beady little eyes have come out unscathed. So I'm really happy with how this is looking so far. To paint this guy up, I'm using a very thin acrylic paint. So I've watered it down to create kind of a wash and then just sort of like dabbing off the majority of it. It kind of creates like a really crusty, mottled texture in that sort of gray tone, which I think works perfectly for something like this. Kind of reminds me of like an ibis or a vulture. I felt like after doing this that his face still looked a little bit flat, so I went over a little bit more around the eyes and like under the cheeks, sort of to create a bit of contouring, I guess. I think it just gave his face a little bit more dimension, especially around the beak, because the beak is still obviously pretty like flat, so it kind of just adds to the optical illusion that it's like a more natural organic shape. I can't forget this little lower beak section as well, so once that's all done, it is time to just glue that into the bottom of the jaw here, and I literally just used some hot glue like on the sides here to get it set in. Okay, so here is my beautiful boy with the paint all dried, looking wonderfully crusty, which is exactly what we're aiming for. And you can see at the back here these weird little baggies that I filled with these beads, and the reason I've done this is for weight, right? Because I wanted to put weights on the back here to counterbalance how heavy the front is, and I'll show you why in a second. But like, I didn't want to spend money on actual weight, so that's why I ended up using these metal beads that I have. So I'm just gonna, you know, take those down later. But you can see in here I've sewed like a bit of string like through the back here, and the reason why is because I kind of want, if this like sits like this, so that when this is on my head, like on that big bit of cardboard, if I'm like straight upwards, it does this. But if I want to, I can put my head down and like the head will move like this, so you can kind of see how it would like, you know, move around and kind of be, I don't know, I just thought it was gonna be cool, and for some reason I just have to put movement into every single one of my cosplays now. It's the rules. Okay, I have just sewed this bad boy on, so he kind of like wobbles a little bit, but the ultimate test is, don't fall, don't fall. Okay, so it doesn't work as well as I thought, kind of still. It's not bad. It's not actually terrible. It's kind of leaning in a funny direction though, isn't it? Like, I think I might need to put a little bit more weight on to have that working as I expected, because it's... Oh, I know why it's doing that. It's because it's pushing it from up here. It's pushing it freaking down. Oh my god. I didn't even think about that. Okay, I just had to cut this back part like shorter, that's all. I skipped a fair few things filming. I'm sorry guys, this is like a 48-hour project for me. But I have covered the whole base in masking tape this way, and then like at the bottom this way. I just wanted to kind of reinforce, because it is cardboard that's holding up a little bit of weight at the top here now. That's what it's looking like. I've also reinforced the top here by like just putting a ton of hot glue right at like this point here. And you can see I've cut away a fair bit of this top so that it doesn't catch
on the sides and stop like this action happening. But since I put this on, it's reinforced a lot, so it grips onto my head a little bit tighter.
To cover up all of these like ugly cardboard bits that are going to otherwise show, I've just got a ton of white cotton poplin that's going to provide a great base for this. I have tons of this stuff lying around for things like making sewing patterns, so I meant I didn't have to shop for anything new.
Okay, so I think I've just realized that I need the piece that is attached to the head and the piece that's attached to the neck to be separate, because like these are still like, even trying to cut little holes in them for ease, I guess, it's still affecting the movement too much. So there's gonna be like a hood on this thing and then like a scarf on this thing. Okay, so she's ready for decoration now. So my plan, I've got a couple of different things. I've got feathers, of course, tons of white feathers. I've also got some faux fur, which I'll probably use around like the very tops. Could be easy to fill it out fast. And then I've got this stuff, which is like a really, really thick white yarn, which I got ages ago, and I don't even remember the project I was going to use it for, but I did end up using it. So it's perfect for this. And there's a fair bit there, so it should fill things out pretty nicely. We'll see how this goes.
So I think closest to the face, the faux fur is going to work really well because it's shorter, it's very, very fluffy, and it covers plenty, so it can sort of cover up all of these awkward edges. Feathers, of course, is a must for this one, and my hope is that they might like catch a bit of the breeze, so it creates a lot of movement in the head as well. Okay, so chopping up this weird like loose yarn that I had, and just gonna glue that basically like all the way down the hood of the face and then onto the neck as well, just to sort of fill that out, just because it's going to take way too long to try and do all of that with feathers. To help bulk out the shape of the neck a little bit, I am adding in some more like little zigzag strips here of that cotton poplin. I think it'll just kind of help give it a bit more body. And then of course we're back to filling out the rest with this yarn.
Okay, so here is my head ready to go. I took a bunch of the beads out of like that back little weight section I had, because all of the feathers and hot glue and yarn, I guess, just added enough weight to it. So it's back to looking pretty good in terms of stability. I'm going to try it on and see how it goes. Let me just do that so you can kind of see it. Okay. I have a hole at the front here. So I think I would need to add a little bit more fabric around the bottom. If I do this, boy's just having a nap. It's really surprising how often I end up like emotionally attached to my costumes, and not in like a I'm enjoying this kind of way, in a like I'm pack bonding to this amalgamation of cardboard and fabric. Okay, so I can kind of see the camera now a little bit through these holes. It's not great.
For the costume itself, I've got like a ton of white skirts and dresses and scarves and shawls that I can layer up, but I did just cut out this sort of like donut shape out of the poplin, and then all of the leftover pieces of yarn that I haven't used on the neck, I'm just gonna kind of fill that out around the shoulders. I'm hoping this might help like blend the neck into the rest of the costume, if that makes sense. Okay, with all of that done, it's time for a test run. So I literally just put on every piece of vaguely white clothing that I had to try and just bulk out my form a little bit, because honestly the star of the show was just gonna be the head here. The rest just has to kind of form like a vaguely amorphous body shape. But as you can see, it's all pretty much going to plan. I'm happy with how it looks, although I can't see all that well in this. After a quick test run, I was happy with this one. We took it outside in the middle of the night with a bit of a spotlight on it. It looked equal parts creepy and incredibly goofy. And honestly, this was incredibly satisfying for me. I think after like a lot of more serious projects, it was really nice to just do something that was just purely for fun, very ridiculous, and looks kind of awesome. It kind of just reminded me what I got into cosplay for in the first place. So I really hope you guys enjoyed watching this process as well.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this. I realize it might not like perform very well in the YouTube algorithm, just because I don't imagine there's like a huge demand for videos about giant bird meme costumes. I really wanted to do this project just for me and just for fun, and I really want to share that with you guys, even if it is like a little bit weird and off-center. And that's saying a lot, because a lot of my stuff is already weird and off-center. Anyway, I wanted to say special thank you to my top tier patrons, my ultimate supporters, and they are Artemis, Dakota, Harry, Rakishan, Residual Images, Tamara, and Yuri. You guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. I want to say thank you as well to all of my patrons on the Juniper's Friends tier. Their names are appearing on screen Now, look at these guys. All of them are so handsome and pretty and intelligent and funny and amazing in every way. If you also want to be handsome and pretty, intelligent and funny in every way, you should come and join us over on my Patreon. I post a lot of other tutorials that you don't see here on YouTube. I post previews of my work and work in progress. So if you want to come over and check it out and help support me and help support me making more weird bird costumes, you can do that. Thank you guys again, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!